Hello and welcome to Frostbites podcast. My name is Minna and I'm coming to you as usual from northern Finland. This is my podcast about knitting and sometimes sewing and a few other crafty things that I get myself into. Today is February 17th and it's Sunday. The weather is quite nice. It's been sunny all day. We've had really cold January, minus 20 something degrees for what feels like most days. I'm not quite sure about that. But now, a couple of days ago, it started raining. It rained really hard, and now that it's around 0 degrees, everything's icy. And it's really slippery. I've been skiing a couple of days. On a couple of days this week. I've had a couple of days off from work and I really enjoyed getting back to my skis, and I will insert some footage from my skiing somewhere in this episode. You might have already seen something. But today I have so many whips and even more finished objects that I think that we should get right into it. I haven't been podcasting in a long time. I did a short vlog video from Jyväskylä Knit Festival Winter from last weekend? I think it was. So now I'm trying to get back to the normal routine, which is hardly a routine. I've been podcasting quite, how do you say that? Sporadically. I usually have an episode out about once a month. And now I think it's been at least a couple of months, maybe even more. So anyway, welcome all new and old viewers. I'm so happy that you chose to spend a little time with me, and I hope you like this episode. If you do, you can hit the thumbs up button, and if you haven't subscribed, please do, because I'm just a tiny bit short of 1,000 subscribers, and I think I'm going to have a giveaway when I hit that mark. But let's get into the knitting, shall we? Finished objects. Like I said, I have a whole bunch of them. And I don't even have all of them here with me, but I will share photos of the ones that I've already given away. But let's start with socks. I have 3 pairs that I made for myself, and then there's 1 pair that I gave away as a Christmas present. So, speaking of Christmas, let's take the blockers. So, these are my own Christmas socks that I wore on Christmas Eve. These are a pair of just pretty much my usual vanilla sock recipe. But this time I made a longer cuff because I wanted to be able to fold fold the cuff if I need it. I used Regia. It's 6-ply, 4-ply. I'm not sure. I'm sorry, I didn't check. But it's their basic fingering weight sock yarn, and it's the Arne and Carlos design line, and I think these colors are very Christmassy, so I made Christmas socks for myself. Because I made the longer cuff, I cast on, I think, maybe 4 extra stitches to my usual. My usual is 60 stitches, but I think this time I cast on 64, and then I decreased somewhere in here. I was trying to get the decreases at the back of the foot, but for some reason when I started the heel flap on the first sock and had already gone past the heel, I noticed that the decreases were in the front. It doesn't really matter. And then I decided on the second sock I would try to put the decreases at the back of the sock, but again, they ended up in the front somehow. I don't think you can really see. They are here. If you really look closely, you can see where they are, but the coloring is so busy in the socks that it doesn't matter at all. I did the slip stitch heel flap, and then what I quite often do with the heel flap is that I do garter stitch. Where is it? Here? No. It's hard. Garter stitch edge on both sides. So that means that I am knitting all 3 stitches in the beginning and 3 stitches in the end of the needle. End of the heel flap and start of the heel flap on both wrong and right side, and that creates the garter stitch edge, and it's quite easy to pick up the stitches, just the purl bump that is at the edge of the heel flap. But you have to be careful which purl bump you pick, because if you pick the wrong one, then that tends to stretch out quite a lot. I have done that mistake in some of my socks, and you get these funny vertical lines in at the end of the edge if you do that. And I never remember which one it is. Is it the top one or the lower one that I need to pick up? So I just pick up a few and I pull my needle a bit to see if they stretch out, and if they do, that's the wrong one. I don't know if it made any sense, but anyway, that's how I do it. And then I did the decreases and my usual toe, which I'm not sure if is it called the rounded toe. It always confuses me because it's not round. Wedge toe, perhaps? I don't know. I don't know the terms, I just do. I knit one and then I decrease, and then I knit the last 2 stitches, 3 stitches, and then I do the decrease and then knit one every other round. So that's the anatomy of my basic sock recipe that I use if I do a heel flap and gusset, and if I knit them from the cuff down. Wow, that's a lot of talk about one pair of socks. I hope that we can move on more quickly with the next ones. So the next pair I made or finished was a Christmas present for someone in the extended family. We celebrate Christmas together with my family and my sister's husband's family, so my brother-in-law's family, quite often. And every Christmas we do a Secret Santa among the adults, and each of us gives only one gift, and each of us receive just one gift. And I really like that because everybody has everything and even too much stuff, and that way we don't get heaps and heaps of things that we don't really need or use. And when you're giving just that one gift, you really have to put more thought into it. And we have a 20 euro limit, so that it shouldn't be more than 20 euros. And I had someone from the extended family who I don't really know that well, and I was really struggling to come up with an idea what to give for them, because I didn't know them that well. I didn't really know what they would really enjoy. And then I asked my colleagues at work, what would you give to this kind of person for Christmas? And everybody said, knit socks for them. And I said, isn't that a little bit boring to receive handmade socks? Because, yeah, I don't know why I thought that. I'm a knitter, so I have my closet full of hand knitted socks. But they really said that, no, it's not boring, you should do that, especially you should do that. So I had about a week left before Christmas to do that. So I took some DK weight yarn that I had in my stash, and I wasn't even sure if the colors were good for this person, but I knitted a pair of socks, and I think it was a good gift for this person because they were wearing the socks all Christmas Eve since we opened the gifts. So yay, good thing. It's good thing to ask around if you're unsure, to get some encouragement when you're doubting. Because I had already thought about knitting the socks earlier, but then I thought that that's not, I don't know why I thought that. Anyway, so that was my second pair of socks. Then I have two more pairs of socks for myself. This pair is, the pattern is called Vanilla is the New Black. I have knitted tons of these for myself and others because I think the heel in these is very, it fits my foot very well, and it's very easy to do. I haven't memorized it because a long time passes before I make another pair, but I only have to check a few spots in the pattern. And I used La Biename's BFL sock yarn for this. I think this is the yarn that I purchased from EYF, and I have this habit or tradition that I buy a skein of sock yarn from festivals, just as a souvenir sock yarn, and I knit socks for myself. So this is one of the many La Biename BFL socks that I bought from different festivals, or sock yarns. And the Vanilla is the New Black is a pattern by Vanessa Fletcher, and I highly recommend it. And I don't have only one pair. I have also a second pair with the same pattern. And these are a pair that will go to my box of socks for this year. I wasn't sure if I was going to participate. It's a Finnish version of the box of socks, hosted by Nonnu Neuloja, who is a Finnish podcaster, and actually the knit-along is called Sukkalaatikko, but it's easier for me when I'm speaking in English to use the English word. The yarn that I used is something I got from the Get Your Yarn Wishes Granted a couple of years ago. I wanted some speckly sock yarn back then, and then Neulokerppa from Finland sent me this skein of yarn, which is dyed by another Finnish podcaster from the podcast called Tuin Kutomo. And I really like the colors. It's very wintry, I think. Perfect for January. And so this is a pair that I started and finished in January. And again, the same pattern as these ones. And I do have a pair. Very nice basic socks. And the reason why I was hesitating in whether I should participate in the box of socks is because I find it really hard to wait until the end of the year to be able to wear my new socks. I usually put them straight on once I've finished them. But since I have, I think, 2 or 3 more works in progress that I already started last year, which don't qualify in the box of socks. For that reason, I thought that I will still get a few pairs for this new year, and maybe that helps me with waiting to wear all these new socks. And I know that it will be wonderful at the end of the year when you have a box full of new socks for yourself. Or some of them I might just give away, but anyway. I haven't got the box yet, but I have first pair. Wow, a lot of socks. Then let's move on with my other finished objects. I also finished my 2x2 hat by Sari Nordlund, which I started sometime towards the end of last year. I don't remember exactly. And I think I finished it before Christmas, and the fit wasn't really good for me. I used this gorgeous merino yarn from Cowgirl Blues, which I bought from South Africa when I went there a bit more than a year ago. And I didn't really want to have that yarn go into waste in any way, so I ended up giving it to my godson, who is adopted from South Africa, so I thought that it would be a special hat for him. So yeah, I don't really remember if there was anything specific that I needed to say about that hat. I really loved the way it's a top-down hat, which is different than most hats. So you start from the top of your head and then go down, and it's a 2x2 rip all around. And I think what I really liked about that pattern was the clever way of doing the increases and how the ribbing started like these new ridges of ribbing when you increase it. So I thought it was very clever. And I might make myself one of those hats someday. It's a nice pattern, very easy travel project. Very portable and also easy to memorize, especially after you've gone past the crown increases. Then my next finished object, I think it's number 6 now. Number 6 are my Visby mittens, which is the first pair of mittens I have finished in decades, I would say. I remember knitting a pair of mittens when I was maybe in high school or maybe still in primary school, I'm not sure. A long time ago. I don't know why I haven't really felt like knitting mittens. And they still are not my favorite thing to do for some reason. But look at these. Aren't these just amazing? Just gorgeous. So this is a design by Pia Kameborn from Sweden, who has the Kamebornia podcast. And she was hosting a Kamebornia summer bingo on Instagram last summer, and I participated on that. And I won 2 of her mitten patterns. And this is the first one now. So Visby mittens, and I used a natural shade and a naturally dyed color of some Fin Sheep and Gyno Grey blend, which I bought from a Christmas fair. And it's quite local. The yarn is quite local to me. The sheep farmer lives maybe an hour away from here, an hour and a half by car. And you must know by now that I love Gyno Grey, Gyno Grey wool a lot. So I just had to get some of this yarn. Pardon me. The cuff has 2 sets of Latvian braids and then corrugated rib, and then the rest of the mitten is just stockinette stitch in color work. And I think the fit is really nice. I like the way the thumb is constructed. And I knitted the size lady in the pattern. It's got a lady and what's it called, a gentleman. But they turned out quite big for me, so I have another pair of mittens inside here. But these are really nice because of the very cold weather that we've had. So I needed to have 2 pairs of mittens anyway. So I've really enjoyed wearing these, and I've been wearing these every single day since I finished them. And the yarn is holding up pretty well. I've also gone skiing with them, and there isn't really that much pilling or wear. So overall, I'm very pleased with these. And then we will move on to garments that I've finished. I finally have finished my Lotta dress. This was a long time in the making. Let me use a hanger here so you can see better. I haven't really taken good pictures of me wearing this dress yet because it's been so dark. And yeah, so, but I've been wearing this a lot. I love a woolen dress. This is the first one I made, and I already have plans for another one. I bought some Tuku wool from Jyväskylä Knit Festival, and I'm hoping to cast on maybe the Ujo dress from, was it on the first or the second issue of Linen magazine? But this one, so this is Lotta dress by Mary Green from Linen magazine issue 5. And the yarn I used is Jill Draper Make Stuff, her Cormo, is it Mohawk that is called? It's 100% Cormo, which is really soft, and I really love how Cormo wool feels like. I think I made the size S, and from the beginning I struggled a little bit because the patterning at the back it wasn't symmetrical. You don't really pay attention to it when it's finished, but it bothered me a little bit in the beginning. So as you can see, there are these horizontal stripes at the back, shorter ones and longer ones, and here on this end the last one is the long one, and on this end the last one is a short one. So that bothered me when I was knitting it, but then I decided that whatever, it doesn't matter, and nobody will notice when I'm wearing it. So I left it as it is. But if you're a perfectionist and you need to have something, if you need to have everything symmetrical, then you might want to maybe add a few stitches at the back to make it even. It has this really nice pleat in the front and short sleeves. You actually only do the ribbing after you have separated the sleeves, and then miles and miles of endless stockinette stitch. I think in my size, was it maybe 65 centimeters or something? It took forever, let me tell you. And I even made this a little bit longer than what the pattern calls for. And then at the hem there is again the same detail with the twisted stitches. But I really enjoyed wearing this, so it's perfect. I love it. Yeah, that's all I can say about this. And it's so comfortable. The other modification that I made was that I added a few increases here. I think in the pattern it's just straight, but because my hips are a size or two bigger than the rest of my body. I wanted to make sure that it was loose also here in the lower part. But otherwise, I think I ran out of space on my memory card, so that's why it cut off. I think I had already said everything I wanted to say about the Lotta dress. And that leaves me with my last final object, which is the elephant in the room. This beautiful Ojos sweater from the new Line magazine, issue 7, which just came out 2 days ago. I haven't gotten my issue yet, my copy yet, but I'm really looking forward to getting it in my hands and reading the articles and seeing the beautiful designs that we have already seen on social media and on Ravelry. But this is a design by Carol Feller, and it was an interesting test knit. I tested this for Line, and I have used Louhittaren Luola's Kainu grey base called Kaino, and the white is the natural color, natural white, and then 3 different colors. It was all something I had already in my stash. It's knitted bottom up, yes. I've already forgotten because it's been quite a while ago since I finished it. Yes, it's bottom up, and you knit the whole thing in the round. Also, the colorwork part is knitted in the round, and then after you have finished the body, you steek, which means that you cut a hole. You cut this part open, and then you pick up the stitches and you knit the sleeves. So if you are not familiar with steeking, it's a technique that is used in colorwork designs. I think the most common way to use it is to make a cardigan, which you knit in the round, so like a sweater, but you have some extra stitches here in the front, and then when you have finished the whole body, you then cut your knitting. So I took my sweater off to show you. So I'm pulling the sleeves in the sweater so you can see, you can get an idea what it looks like before steeking. So you need a tube like this, and when you reach the part where the armholes are, imagine this is still closed, you cast on a few extra stitches here for the steek, because you have to have a little bit of extra, kind of like a seam allowance. And then you continue knitting in the round, and this is where the color work continues across. And then you do the shoulder shaping and of course the neck shaping, and then once you're done, I did the crochet steek, and that's what is called for in the pattern. So let me see if you can see it on the inside. Well, of course you don't, because I've already sewn these in, but here well, maybe you can see a little bit. You crochet a chain here where the seam is on both sides before cutting, and that secures the ends of the cut edge into place. And then, yes, it does. This is the first time I've done sticking, so I'm not an expert. And then once you have these 2 lines of chain stitches that you crocheted, you then take your scissors and you cut in between those stitches, and you cut along the middle stitch of the stick. So the middle stitch of the extra, was it 5 or 7 stitches that were extra. And when you change color, so when you take a new color to go into the stick, you should start in the middle of the stick instead of where the patterning starts, because you want to catch the end of the yarn inside the seam, if that makes sense. And then once you have cut the hole open, you then pick up stitches from the right side to start working on your sleeves like you would normally do. And once you have finished the sleeve and the whole sweater, you then finalize the seam by sewing the seam allowance down, so along this cut edge. So that's basically what sticking is. It's not a very clear explanation, and there are many tutorials on YouTube and also all over internet, which you can find if you search them. I used, I think it was Kate Davis in her blog, I think, where I found good instructions and I followed that. I have to put this back on because I'm a bit chilly, even though it's not a very cold day. I love how this sweater turned out. I was a little bit worried about the sticking because it was my first time doing that, but it went well, even though it's quite a large gauge. I was worried that the ends of the yarn would start unraveling because it was so loose compared to very tightly knit and really grippy yarn. But this is still natural yarn, non-superwash, so it still has some grip, or how do you call it? It grabs into the fiber. The fiber, I don't know how to explain it. You have to have a grippy yarn to do sticking. That's all I can say. So I was worried that it would start unraveling because the stick was quite narrow and the loose gauge, but I haven't done anything for the seams since I finished the sweater, and it's been holding really well, and I've been wearing this a lot already. And I think with wear and with wash, the seams or the seam allowances get felted a little bit into the actual fabric, so that will prevent it even more from unraveling. And because how the stitches always unravel horizontally and not vertically. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. Yes, I think that's all I have about this sweater. It is not a Ojos sweater. It's inspired by Ojos designs, and what Carol has pulled from the Ojos sweaters, I think, is the use of pearl stitches in the color work pattern. So when the color changes, there are pearl stitches which make the transition a bit smoother, and that's typical for the Ojos sweaters. Yes. Okay. Other than knitting, I have finished the cover for the grand piano in our church. That was bothering a bit. That was bothering me a bit because I didn't have time to finish it as soon as I was hoping to, and then I was on sick leave for the last week before Christmas, and then my Christmas holiday started, and then finally early January I took the bull by the horns and I was able to finish it. It was a big project, and it was a jump into unknown because who does that? Who sews grand piano covers on a regular basis? Not many people, I don't think. But it's done and it's pretty good. I'm pretty pleased with it. I might do a thing or two differently if I did another one. But overall, it serves its purpose. It looks neat and tidy and a lot better than the old one. And that's the most important thing. What I did for the front, inside the cover at the front, I sewed in a strip of white bias. The cover is black, to make it easier to find the spot which comes to the front, because it's a huge piece of fabric when you put it on, and it helps a lot if you know which way it is supposed to be going. And another project that was a quick one I did before Christmas, I sewed an apron for my godson, who really likes baking and cooking. I used an old curtain or tablecloth, I'm not sure which one it was, probably a tablecloth, that I had purchased from a second-hand shop years ago. And I made a little pocket in the front, and they wanted to have the strap that goes around your neck. They wanted that to be adjustable so that when he grows they can adjust it, but they didn't want to have a knot at the back of the neck because it bothers him. So instead I put a loop here on the side, and then a long piece of bias tape on the other side, so when you tie it you just pull it through the loop and make a knot here so that it's not at your neck. and I think that works just fine. So that's a little sewing project that I've had. I haven't been working on my tweed skirts since I last went to my sewing class last year. I'm hoping to get it done before EYF. I only have to finish the waist and the hem, but I've been so busy elsewhere during January that I haven't gone to the sewing class at all, or in February. So I need to either finish it at home or find time some week to go to the class end of February, early March, if I'm going to finish it by Edinburgh Yarn Festival. So I'm not sure if I've mentioned it in my podcast. I've announced it on Instagram, but now you know I'm going to Edinburgh Yarn Festival this year again, and now it seems like it's something that I cannot miss. I'm traveling on, was it Thursday? No, Friday. I think I'm leaving on Thursday to go to Helsinki and then catch the first flight in the morning from Helsinki to Edinburgh. So I will be at the festival at least on Saturday and Sunday, possibly also on Friday if I'm not too tired from the traveling and if my flights are on time. And I'm staying there a few days after the festival to have a bit of a holiday and explore the city, maybe do a day trip somewhere. If you have any suggestions where I could do or what kind of trip I could book from Edinburgh, which is a day trip, somewhere in the city or outside the city, I would love to hear your suggestions. I've been making a list of things to do in Edinburgh, just collecting things that have come my way when browsing the internet or Instagram or whatever. And so I have a list of things that I can do, but I haven't made any plans. And I think I'm not going to make a lot of plans for the time after the festival. I'm just going to see what I feel like each day and have a relaxed holiday after the busy days at the festival. But if you are coming to the festival and if you see me, please do come say hi. And yeah, I would love to meet you. This is my third time already at the festival and I'm really looking forward to it. I haven't booked any classes. I'm just going to wander around at the marketplace and sit in it, meet friends, and enjoy myself. I can't wait. So I hope that I will meet you there as well. Let me know. This time at the festival, they don't have a podcast lounge, so I don't have a specific time or date when I will, time of day when I will be at a certain place. But yeah, if you see me, just grab my hand and say hi. What else? I have one more thing that I wanted to share with you, what I've been making. It doesn't look like much, but I've been making hand lotion bars. Not sure if you can see them. I don't want to take it out because this is going to someone else. But this is basically a simple, I used a very simple recipe to make hand balm, and I have been surprised at how good this thing is. I have very, very dry skin, and sometimes I just can't sleep because my legs are itchy, the dry skin, and I have prescription creams and all sorts of things, but when it's really dry in winter, nothing helps. And I had already lost hope until before Christmas. I saw a vlogmas video by Zoe from Pins and Needles, and she said that she's making lotion bars and the recipe is really simple, and she showed it how to make them. And you only need 3 ingredients that you can buy pretty much anywhere in the supermarkets or other places as well, or order online. But these are all things that I found here in Finland, 2 of them in my nearest shop, and 1 product that I had to order online. So you need beeswax, and I used beeswax that is good for cosmetics as well as candles. Then you need coconut oil, and I always mix these cocoa butter. So these 3 ingredients, I measured 1 deciliter of each, so equal amount. And then I used a double boiler, boiled the water in the lower kettle, in the lower compartment of the boiler, and then I put all the ingredients into the top boiler and just had them on the stove until everything was melted. It took about 5 to 10 minutes, and then I pour them in these cupcake cups. I have also silicone ones, which I've been using, but now that I made a batch yesterday because my friends wanted to buy some from me. I made them straight into these cupcake, what do you call them? I keep forgetting words when I start filming. All these things anyway. But this one is made, the heart shaped is made by using the silicone one, and then I just moved it into this cupcake thingy. Yes, and you just warm the bar with your hands, and it starts melting a little bit, and then you can cream your hands or your legs or whatever needs moisturizing. And it has been just amazing how much it has helped. It's really buttery and greasy, so if you have an oily skin, you probably want to stay away from it. But if you have a really extremely dry skin, then it doesn't take too long when it's absorbed, and I find that it keeps my skin moisturized for a long time. I have to use less cream during the day, and I can sleep at night, and I highly recommend you try it if you are suffering from dry skin. And for us knitters, our hands are really important. I sometimes just, when I feel that the knitting has dried my hands, I just take a little bit on my hands and I'm good to go for a long time. So yeah, that's all my makes, my finished makes. And then I still have some whips that I wanted to share with you. Are you still up for it? It's going to be a long episode. You can watch it in 2 parts if this is too much on one go. I have 3 pairs of socks, 1 shawl and 1 sweater that I'm going to share with you. I have other whips as well, but these are the ones that I've been working most actively. First one is my ugly socks. I call these ugly socks because I think they are really ugly. I don't like pulling, and pulling is what is really happening here. This is some Fernavolle yarn merino sock. No, it's not merino. I think it's just wool sock yarn, but quite soft. It feels almost like merino. I bought this a few years ago from Austria, but you can now also get it in Finland. Fernavolle. I don't remember what the sock yarn is called. It's fingering weight and it looks really quite nice on the skein. But weird things started to happen when I cast it on. At first, I thought that it was going to be like a 2-sided sock. The other side would be pink and the other one would be this green or turquoise or whatever color it is. But then it started spiraling in a weird way and I just don't like the look of it, but it doesn't matter. I like the softness of the yarn and I usually wear my socks in my shoes, so it doesn't matter what they look like. And this time I decided to this has been my airplane knitting and travel knitting. I just decided to do a long tube and do afterthought everything. So once I'm finished, I will have 2 tubes about this long. And I will do a cut-in heel and a cut-in toe. So I will still have a fair bit to go before I'm finished. And this is one of the really mindless knits that I have. I will just quickly go through these projects because we've been here already for quite some time. Then my next pair of socks is let's take this, the Pebbles and Pathways sock by Marceline Smith, who is Hey Brown Berry, and I really like this design. There's a garter stitch section in the middle and then cables running along both sides. And I have just started working on the gusset, I think. It's been a while since I've been knitting on these. And I'm using this beautiful variegated or tonal, I don't know which one it is, blue yarn, which I got last year at Edinburgh from Erin. Sorry, Erin. Erin Joy on Instagram. I am Erin Joy on Instagram. who I met at the EYF. I think it's BFL nylon blend, really nice color. So that's coming along nicely. This is one of the pairs. No, I think I might have started this in January. Yes, it was past New Year's when I started these. So these could go into the voxel socks as well, like can my ugly socks, and then also these socks. So I ran out of battery. So where was I? I was telling you about these socks. So this is just a tube that I'm knitting. I'm going to do an afterthought heel, and I'm using my 9-inch circulars after a long time. The yarn that I'm using is, I think it's Spa La Jolla's merino yarn. And actually when I started knitting on these, I thought that this contains nylon, but it doesn't. And now I'm wondering whether I should rip back a little bit and knit the foot in a different yarn. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. But anyway, for the cuff I used this little mini I got from a friend. It's got a little bit of sparkle. I don't know if you can catch that on camera. And yeah, I really like this colorway. It's beautiful. I think it was called Wild Tan. And yeah, so nothing much to say about these. And then I have two largest projects. First of which is this Magnolia Sweater. I'm using, no, not that one. This Rauwerk merino wool. It's a 2-ply woolen spun wool, 300 meters in 100 grams. And I love this yarn. It's so beautiful, and it will soften once it's washed. And I think I already showed this one on the vlog, but just in case you haven't seen it, this is the Magnolia Sweater, pardon me, by Camilla Vard from Linen Magazine issue 4. And it has this beautiful lace pattern in the hem. And now I'm working on the sleeves. I got a whole set of new small circulars. I don't remember how how long these are, but compared to the 9-inch ones, maybe they are 13-inch or something like that. They are a little bit longer, so just perfect for knitting sleeves. It does take a little while to get used to this kind of circular needle. It's more like the small one. You have to use your hands a little bit differently, and at first it's a little bit hard to find a secure grip, but once you get going it's quite nice, I think, not having to maneuver with the long cable or having to worry about getting ladders where the needle changes. That has been my problem. So, but this has been put aside for a little while now because I have a a large test knit again on my needles, and I have to be on top of that all the time until the deadline. So this can wait, but I would love to wear this at Edinburgh. I don't know if I can make it. I doubt it. And lastly, I have started to work on Vertices Unite by Stephen West, and this is how far I've come. I'm in the first section, and I haven't been knitting on this on that many days. A Finnish podcaster, Jonna, from Tänään Neulon podcast, started a knit along for this shawl, and I was too anxious to wait until the knit along started, so I cast on a couple of weeks too early. So I'm not officially taking part in the knit along, and I think I'm not going to be able to finish it in time, but I'm still knitting along with other Finnish knitters who are working on this shawl. And for this shawl I'm using this beautiful yarn, which is a single ply Finn sheep wool. It's Kässäkerho Pompoms Suoma single. And so far I have these 4 colors. So 2 different shades of grey. Actually, this one here is like a purple grey, and then light grey and dusty pink, and then this pink with blue and purple, and what else is there? A bit of white speckles. It's really nice. Totally different than what you would normally consider a single ply yarn. All those soft merinos. This is soft as well, but because it's Finn sheep, it's different. It has got a bit more structure in it. And I think this shawl is going to be super warm. And I'm going to get a couple of more, 2 more skeins from Elina from Elinan Villapaitapeli podcast. She told to me that in Jyväskylä that she has a couple of extra skeins that she could send me because I don't have enough yarn in these, because these are 50-gram balls. And she said that she has some pinks and greys for like a large quantity at home, and I think they are going to be, at least the grey is going to be different than the greys that I have. And I'm not sure about the pink. It might also be like a 3rd pink to add with these colors. And I think they will go really well with these ones that I have. I think that's all for now. I've been talking for a long time. I've been cut off so many times that I just want to get this done with and move on to editing. I hope you enjoyed your time with me, and hopefully I will have time to film another episode before it's EYF time. Happy knitting, and there will be some skiing at the end of this video, so stay tuned if you're interested. See you next time. Bye. Hi, I'm skiing. This is the 2nd time this winter. Yesterday was the 1st time. I came back to the abandoned island, which I have spoken about before in my episodes last winter, I think. It's an old sawmill community island, quite close to my home. It takes less than half an hour by car to get here. And when I left, the sun was shining through the clouds, but now it's totally grey. It's quite windy as well, and I'm trying to look for a nice spot to have lunch here in the forest. I just skied across the ice from the mainland, and now I'm on this island. I came to the part where there are no buildings and there's nobody there or here. It's completely quiet in that sense, but the wind is blowing and I can hear a bird every now and then. But I'm going to set up a nice spot somewhere in the forest where I'm a bit more protected from the wind, and I'm going to have some lunch. I spotted some rabbit footprints here on the snow. Okay, let's see if I can find a nice spot here. Wow, the snow is very soft here. We have about half a meter of snow, I think. It always takes forever for me to find the perfect spot. I like to see the sea, which is that way, but because it's so windy I need to find the spot somewhere in the forest where I can still have a view.